Hey everyone, this is Anil, and for today's episode of Peaceful Growth, I have Robby here. Hi, Robby.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Robby, so how about we start with your introduction? So tell us about who you are, what you do, and anything that you feel interesting.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to do this chat. My name is Robby McCullough. I am one of the co-founders of Beaver Builder, which is a page builder platform for WordPress. And I have two business partners. Beaver Builder has been around for almost 10 years. Before Beaver Builder, we had a web design agency. So we've been doing WordPress for probably going on almost 15 years now.
Great. Beaver Builder is really popular page builder, and those who haven't heard about it, you must be living under the rock. Yeah, we had in the past some clients that we suggested, and we helped them implement Beaver Builder. Thanks for sharing that, and Robby, that's really cool product that you guys have built.
Yeah, thanks. It's there's a lot more options in the WordPress space now, from Gutenberg to some of the other page builders, and then even sites like Squarespace and Shopify and Wix. There's a lot more no-code solutions than there were. We were one of the earlier ones, but it's been a fun ride.
Great. So Robby, for Beaver Builder or your business, how do you track the success of the business? Like, if there is any metrics like clients, team size, anything that you want to share that help us understand the current stage of your business growth?
Yeah, it's always been a little tricky with WordPress, particularly. We have a free version of Beaver Builder that is in the WordPress plugin repository, and we'd love it if we had more statistics and data around how many installs that had, and so the WordPress plugin repository will tell you, like, oh, your plugin has 200,000 installs or 300,000, but it doesn't give you any kind of graphs or metrics. And at a certain point, I think when you hit 100,000, it will only tell you when you've gone up another 100,000. So it starts off, it's like, oh, you have 100 installs, and now you have 300 and 1,000, 10,000. But above a certain point, you're just kind of in the dark. But yeah, the number of sites we're running has always been something we keep an eye on. Obviously, the business revenue is something we keep an eye on. Profit, team size is something we keep an eye on as well.
So how long it has been for the Beaver Builder and your business?
So the business started, like I mentioned, we were a web design agency. Gosh, I want to say, well, I came on board around 2012 or 2013. But Beaver Builder, we always celebrate our birthday in April, and so we just had our 9th anniversary this April. It's nice. August right now. Yeah, thank you. We usually do like a blog post, and we have a beaver caricature that's kind of like our mascot, and we put a little birthday hat on him on the blog post graphic, and kind of do a little internal celebration.
Yeah. So it has been 9 years for Beaver Builder, and who are some of those any big client names that we can remember?
Yeah, crowd favorite has been a long time evangelist of Beaver Builder. They've been using it for I think all of their projects, like all their WordPress projects, and they're an enterprise level WordPress agency that do a lot of really big name brand sites. They have a Disney property that they've used Beaver Builder on. Let's see, so I've been using, there's a tool from the W3, the World Wide Web Consortium, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but the w3.org that tracks the number of websites that are running a certain CMS, and Beaver Builder's tracked. And I just recently set up an alert. They'll let us know when a new site that has a certain either like Alexa ranking or domain ranking uses Beaver Builder, and that's been kind of fun. Like, we saw that Michelin, it's the tire company that also does the restaurant Michelin star ratings. They started using Beaver Builder on one of their properties. I got an alert that Strava was using Beaver Builder on one of their properties, but I couldn't find it. I was like digging through their website and looking up the source code and trying to find. So that might not be accurate, but if it's out there, I'd love to know, because that's a tool I use regularly. I'm a cyclist and hiker.
Wow, yeah, those are really good names. And yeah, I also like your hack about using the WW3 or for finding out or getting those alerts about who is using your plugin. I like that hack. Yeah. All right, I might reach out to you later on how you set it up, because I definitely would like to set it up for Multicollab and a couple of other WordPress products that we have.
Sure thing. I think built with. There's another similar website that tracks what CMS certain.
Yeah, I have used built with, but I don't know how to set those alerts. But that definitely is a cool hack. Great. So Robby, a lot of people who listen to this podcast and our YouTube channel, they are either young entrepreneurs or just entrepreneurs, WordPress entrepreneurs, or entrepreneurs in general. So one question I wanted to ask you about that: when you started Beaver Builder, like as a business and as a product, what was your strategy or story or journey to get your first 10 clients for the Beaver Builder in the early stage?
We kind of cheated, I guess, if I'm honest. So maybe not cheated, but it was real easy to get our first 10 because we were doing website projects for our clients. And Beaver Builder started out as an internal project. And so we were using it on our own client websites. And then from there, we started neither myself or my two business partners really had any background or experience in traditional marketing or online marketing. So we kind of learned as we went. I did a lot of reaching. I was the one who eventually kind of took over that role and tried to specialize in marketing. But we reached out to a lot of like influencers and bloggers and people who are writing about WordPress to try to get them to, write a blog post about Beaver Builder. I remember emailing WP Tavern, and Chris Lemo was a big, he's still a very popular blogger. He used to do, at the time, was doing a daily blog, and it was one of the, kind of top reads in the space, at least if you were trying to do a business in WordPress. And that had some success, but there was a lot of it felt spammy, and you'd send those kind of boilerplate emails, copy and paste it in, and then you change the first paragraph to say hey, I read your blog, I saw your article on this and that, and then you have the copy paste, I'm Robby, I have this piece of software called Beaver Builder, and it I don't know, it worked, but it didn't work it wasn't great. We never got that WP Tavern article. And I think Chris eventually wrote an article about us, but it wasn't until people started using Beaver Builder and then kind of evangelizing it for us. So some of our probably early customers really loved the product, and a few of them were, very involved in the WordPress community, both online and in person. And would go out and leave comments and say, hey, have you tried this yet? This is a much better solution. Or it was kind of a word of mouth marketing sort of snowball that generated that really helped us out in the early days.
So out of all the different strategies that you tried to promote your Beaver Builder and get more distribution, what are the 2 or 3 that you think has been very effective in the past, but are still effective as of today?
Yeah, it's changed a bit. We did. So one of our now employees used to work for a marketing agency that specialized in Google ads. And there's there's a lot of marketing agencies that do Google ads, and there's a whole kind of spectrum of there's the guys that are just kind of guys and gals that aren't that great, or that are just kind of dime a dozen. But the shop he was working for at the time, and still to this day, they were real deal, highly educated data geeks, and they really knew the Google algorithm and the ad algorithm inside and out. And so we did a lot of online advertising with them, and there was an era there where it worked extremely well. This was also around the time when Facebook was coming out with this idea of like a lookalike audience. So you could take your email list and upload it to Facebook, and Facebook would, associate those emails with profiles. This was all kind of done anonymously, but what it would do is come up with like a user persona based on your existing customers or your existing newsletter list, and then it would like highly target ads at people that they thought were like a lookalike, like a similar, demographic, experience, education level, employment, and things like that. There's been a lot of changes around privacy in advertising and online data tracking now. So we found that it's like not quite as effective as there was like kind of those golden years when online ads were really, really like cheap and effective. And they're still effective, just not quite as effective, and they're not quite cheap anymore. It's like but yeah, we still do a lot of advertising and experimentation, trying to find new platforms and places to get our name out there. One thing that I guess was interesting is when we started, we didn't do a whole lot of just traditional content marketing on our blog. We would write an update post kind of every couple months, sharing like what was going on internally with the product and with our team, and just kind of putting our personalities out there and sharing our experience. But we didn't do a whole lot of like, how to set up a landing page on WordPress or how to redirect URLs, like just kind of general tutorial content on our blog. But then at a certain point, we realized that we'd been around for long enough. We have like again, this was like this worked back in the day. I don't know if I'd recommend doing this now. Google's gotten a lot more advanced, but we have a theme, and in our theme, when you installed it, in the default footer, there was a link back to Beaver Builder, kind of similar like WordPress did this back in the day. When you installed WordPress, there'd be a link back in the footer, and eventually all those link backs gave us like a pretty decent domain rank, and we realized that we had like good domain rank, and we were ranking for terms that, like, if we were to invest time and money into creating content, it was going to pay off a lot more, because we were actually able to rank on some of the more competitive terms around WordPress.
Makes sense. Yeah, a lot of those things that you mentioned, it's interesting that you don't hear them as a mainstream strategy now. So I'm sure a lot has changed since how we used to promote product business 10 years ago and now.
Yeah, we've always experimented and tried new things. I guess another thing we've done is we've done a lot of in-person events and tried to just kind of make friends and create goodwill amongst the WordPress community. Like, we've done a few. So one of my like tricks to WordCamps or to conferences is we would always do the lowest level sponsorship you could do. So we sponsored, but it was, like usually like the cheapest option. And then you could go in and like we could give out stickers and put stuff around. But we only just recently tried doing a more expensive sponsorship where we actually have like a table and a booth with, we invested in some banners, and we have more people on the team now. So we had enough people to come out that we actually had someone standing there for pretty much all of the...
How big is your team at this moment?
We're like 20 and change. We have a few contractors and shops that we've worked with for a long time that we kind of consider part of the team. But as far as like, only Beaver Builder employees or contractors, we're at like, I think 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I want you to go back to the WordCamp sponsoring. I think that was really interesting, because that's another area that I'm right now.
So this was me. Like, I did a lot of WordCamps. Sometimes I'd go with a colleague or colleagues, but a lot of times I would go solo. And it's just like the idea of standing behind the table all day, and like it just didn't appeal to me. I much preferred kind of getting to wander around and going out and doing meals with people or attending talks. But this year at WordCamp Phoenix, we decided to do a proper sponsorship, and we invited out, I think there was like 8 people that we brought out from the team. So we had enough like kind of man and woman power, person power, to have someone or 2 people behind the table the whole time. Yeah, we did some like swag we brought out. We made these like stuffed, actually I might be able to grab one, but we have these like stuffed beaver dolls. We brought a bunch of those and gave out. We had a computer and a monitor set up so we could do live demos and a discount code. And it was a lot of fun. I think that there's a lot of like kind of intangible value in doing sponsorships. Like we didn't immediately go home and see like our revenue numbers pop from that particular event. But I do feel like we kind of set a lot, like planted a lot of seeds, got our name out there, introduced like what we're about and our brand to a lot of people, and hopefully that eventually kind of pays off and grows.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So talking about the WordCamp US sponsorship, WordCamp sponsorship, not just WordCamp US sponsorship. Yeah, so that's something that like Multicollab, with our businesses and some of the brands, we have been sponsoring some of the WordCamps around the world. And one big learning and realization for me was that like it's not the sponsorship amount that is the cost that you're looking at, but there is a lot of other things that, like once you sponsor, that you need to have a booth and swag. So there is like a lot of those different additional costs that a lot of time when we think about the investment, we don't look into that. Yeah, and I was also been questioning around that. I love the idea of supporting WordCamp and sponsoring it. So we still sponsor it, but I'm still in the same boat as you about whether to have a booth or utilize that time to build more in-person connection and going to the different events and having one-on-one conversations than standing there at the booth for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, there's no clear answer. I think there's some interesting strategy. So my friend Vova from Freemius hosted a party this year at WordCamp Asia, which was held in Bangkok. And it was at there was like a craft beer and kind of grill, sort of like American style joint that was just across the street. And he brought a bunch of people out and he picked up the tab for the whole thing. And I was like, wow, Vova, like this was a really fun party. Thanks so much. And he's like, yeah, if there's ever a place in the world to pick up the tab, it's Bangkok, because just the cost of everything there is so much less.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's smart. And then like reversely, we got WordCamp US coming up, and my understanding, and just from the little bit of research I've done, is that Washington DC is a very expensive city as far as like US major cities go. So we might do we might invite some friends out for like a small intimate dinner, but I don't know if we're going to do like a big 50-person hotel party kind of thing.
Yeah. I have also observed a theme recent, especially in this WordCamp, is that some of these companies and the brands in the WordPress space, instead of throwing the party like 10 different parties, I feel like they are all collaborating together. So I felt like 2 or 3 companies, instead of like separate party, they are all doing one party, and that's part of like 3 brands together.
I've seen that too. Yeah, I think that's a really good idea.
I like that idea too. Yeah, because then you're sharing the cost, but also like it's like a nice way to, because for me, I think one thing, I'm not sure if you have experienced that, but when there are so many parties, then you need to make a decision like which one I should go, because they're all happening at the same time, right? So then you miss out some of the parties. But I think I like this where 2 or 3 brands come together and they throw a one large party together. I think that's really smart.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have, but especially at the larger WordCamps, there's like always something to do, and there's a lot of overlap. Yeah, I agree. Hey, maybe I think it might be a little short on time for WordCamp US, but next time Multi-Dots and Beaver Builder are at the same camp, maybe we can join up and throw a party together.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. Yeah, let's think about that. Talk about that for maybe another WordCamp.
Cool. Yeah.
Great. All right. So let's go back to the your customer acquisition. So I have one more last questions, and then we'll move on to the next topic.
Sure.
But you mentioned we talked about 0 to 10 customers, right? Now, I would assume that, let's say, does anything change once you get your first 100 or 1,000 paid customer? After that, does anything change in the strategy? If yes, then what?
For us, I think we got turned on around somewhere between 100 and 1,000. We got introduced to the idea of affiliate marketing, which we knew what affiliate marketing was, but we met a couple of people who are big marketers, affiliate marketers, as opposed to product sellers in the WordPress space, that encouraged us to set up an affiliate program. And they essentially said hey, we like what you're doing, we'd like it a lot more if we could get a cut, and then I'll write about it on my very popular blog. And we're like, oh well, okay. We kind of did a little napkin math to try and figure out what percentage we should set that affiliate cut to, and we kind of debated internally whether it was something we wanted to do, and how much we should give, and some of the logistics around it. But we did set up an affiliate program, which was great. It's kind of like a win-win situation, and it makes it a lot easier to write those kind of cold emails to content creators and publishers and say, hey, we'd love for you to write about our product, and we have an affiliate program, so if you do, you can get this cut. We also did something, I think there was maybe some other people doing it, but we included some code in our theme and in the free version of Beaver Builder. Actually, it wasn't the theme, it was the free version of Beaver Builder. We included a hook where if you were a theme creator, you could bundle Beaver Builder with your theme, and through code, you could add your affiliate ID to the upgrade button in the free version. So if you had a popular free theme, you could bundle Beaver Builder, and then anyone that upgraded Beaver Builder from your theme, you'd get a commission from that. And that worked out it worked out really well too, because it was they the theme authors didn't have they signed up for our affiliate program, but they didn't have to create content. They just would bundle Beaver Builder and have that little code link in there. Nowadays, I think it's encouraged a lot more to be more upfront, I guess, about your affiliate marketing, promotions and this and that. I see this on blogs all the time where, some people will have a warning or a, just the kind of small text at the bottom that says, hey, we have, we generate a small amount of income from affiliate relations, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, back in those days, that wasn't as I don't know if it's legally required in some places now, or if it's just kind of considered good practice to be upfront about it. But yeah, that wasn't really a thing back then.
So do you think affiliate is still one of your strong channel, or?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm okay. I don't think there's any reason I can't talk about this. But yeah, why not? So one of the biggest affiliate players in the WordPress space is Syed Balki. He runs WP Beginner. I think that's kind of his main WordPress content engine. And it's been really fascinating to watch the strategy that he's gone about with his businesses. But he, over the last few years, has been acquiring a lot of WordPress products. So
yeah, he's a brilliant entrepreneur. I love how he approaches his business and the growth.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I take every chance I can to sit down and chat with him, or when he's creating content or on podcasts, listening to what he's saying, because he's really got some unique ideas, and he finds these niches and kind of opportunities that other people don't. But so interestingly, he had WP Beginner, and again, I'm just kind of this was my interpretation of what he was doing just based on watching from the outside. But he had an opt-in monster. He had some products, but most of the products he recommended on WP Beginner were affiliate products, products he had an affiliate relationship with. Beaver Builder is one of them, and was one of the big page builders. It was I think we were number one or number two for most of the time before he acquired a page builder. So now he has Seed Prod. So that Seed Prod's a fantastic product, and I don't blame him for this at all. But now when we go to those top 10 page builder lists on his website, Seed Prod's got the #1 spot, and we're down there number 2 or 3. So yeah, that's been interesting. Like he started acquiring businesses and having his own options instead of leveraging affiliate partnerships. So yes, the long answer to your question, yes, affiliate marketing is still valuable to us. It's still a customer acquisition channel. It's just, again, it's kind of changed throughout the years, as opposed to there being like 3 or 4 people that brought in 90% of the revenue. It's kind of spread out a little bit more.
Yeah. So one question I have on that is, when it comes to promoting or marketing a WordPress product business, one situation that I encountered with Multicollab was that whether who am I targeting to, like WordPress community for this product, like my message, brand message, and investment and channel should be the WordPress people who are in WordPress community, or outside WordPress community. So when I said outside, because I feel like a lot of time what happens is a lot of products that we use, either we will have the people from the WordPress community, like other agencies or WordPress freelancers or developers, and they recommend our solutions to their client. So that's one way to go about it. But also, what are the ways where we can directly connect with those actual decision makers or the users of our product or plugin? Have you been doing in that situation or problem ever?
Yeah, we've always kind of so Beaver Builder being a no-code solution to build a website, there's always been a group of our users and customers that are looking for something no code. So maybe they're a business owner that needs a website, or they're a hobbyist. There's someone who is not building websites all the time, but needs a website for whatever reason and uses Beaver Builder because they're able to get in and build it without, learning HTML and CSS. But then on the other hand, when we started Beaver Builder, we were a development and design agency, and we built it in a way that it was very extensible and easy for people who did know how to code to kind of leverage the ease of use of being able to drag and drop things on a page, but then also get in and write CSS or create custom modules and do more advanced things. We've tried to make that very easy with Beaver Builder. So we've kind of tried to find a balance between those two user groups, and throughout the history of the product, there were times when we were all in on okay, we're going to be really developer centric, this is who we want our customer to be. But then we've had opportunities, we did a partnership with a big hosting company, and they were bringing us a lot of new users that were almost exclusively the kind of more small business, sort of do-it-yourselfer. And we're oh, well, we need to make it a little more, easier for this person.
Yeah.
So I think in our case, the marketing that we've done, we've been targeting people who are WordPress users and agencies and kind of web pros. But then we've also had the opportunity to be for someone that's just learning about WordPress, or people that are not already in the WordPress community, we've been able to reach through partnerships, reach out to people like that. And yeah, and to be honest, to this day, we still kind of kind of ping pong between the two, or not even ping pong. Those are our two established groups, and we kind of try to create for both of them. We have additional products that we target just for the developer types. We have our theme builder add-on that isn't really something you would use if you're not building a lot of websites or building more advanced WordPress applications. And then we've been creating a lot of video tutorial content and kind of more easy to digest documentation and things like that for users who are just getting started with either WordPress or web design.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I think I also concluded at the very conclusion as well that I was no matter what, WordPress community itself is a very big market and influencers. So basically, even if I don't know, and also it's very easy access for me, so in order to promote and target them. So that's where I put probably 80% efforts for my business to, especially for the Multicollab, more focusing on the web professionals. But we are also getting a lot of interest from some of these large publishers and enterprise who are not necessarily involved in the WordPress community, but they just are using WordPress and interested in solutions like that. So that is a kind of like a next challenge slash experimentation for me to figure it out, like what is the best way to promote your WordPress business or product outside WordPress community, because that is where I couldn't find that many successful case studies.
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of WordPress is that it has such a huge market share that there is that, like there's just a huge number of people using WordPress that are already out there. And it's a lot easier, I think, as a product to target those users as opposed to targeting someone who's never heard of WordPress. It kind of, there is a learning curve with WordPress, right? Like getting it set up and getting hosting or, themes and plugins and the relationship between content and headers and footers and all this stuff. It definitely is like a bit of a shortcut that, like, why not take advantage of it by just targeting that already existing giant user base?
Okay guys, so if you're interested to check out how Multicollab works and how Multicollab can solve your problems or improve your content publishing workflow, you can go to our website and click on the Try Demo tab in the menu section. Then simply fill out your details and there you go. Now you have access to the demo environment where you can test all the amazing features that Multicollab has to offer.
So my next question is, what will be the advice that you will give to young entrepreneurs who's just starting WordPress product business?
I think that, so I mean, my experience is really like all I can share. I don't want to claim to know, like, oh, if you do this, this, and that, this is how you find success, but like, I think some of the things that I learned from my experience early on, I feel like I had a tendency to want to do everything myself. And I think that when I started, like even before I met my now business partners and we did Beaver Builder, like I'd done some kind of like, I built websites, I had web projects and none of them were like, some of them, I'd have like Google ads, like some of them made revenue, but they weren't like, wildly successful. But at that time, I really like took a lot of pride in doing everything myself. Like I wrote the code and I did the designs and I did the marketing and I, fixed the bugs and it was like a lot of fun to just kind of have this thing that you owned that was wholly yours. But then when I started working for Fastline and working with Justin Billy, my partners, our productivity as a team was just heads and shoulders beyond what I ever could have done alone. And we, all kind of had our specialties too, that we were able to like, I kind of took over the marketing role. Justin was our lead developer, so he was doing most of the code. And then Billy was our operations and HR guy he did like everything else around managing a business. And being able to like specialize and having partners that had complementary skill sets just made me a lot more productive. So it's not like, I guess, not being like, not wanting to do everything yourself, trying to find partners that are complementary. Like you don't want to partner up with someone that has the same skill set or is the same person as you. You want someone that's going to help you grow and vice versa. I also think now, especially, 10 years almost into it, in the early days, there was a tendency or a feeling of like, I wanted to get it all done now and like as quick as I could. And there were a lot of years where I was like, kind of like more like a workaholic and just like, not even workaholic, but there was like almost a guilt around like, I'd work hard, I'd work all day, but my to-do list kept like growing and growing. And I think that learning how to prioritize and trying to find high leverage activities that you can do is extremely valuable. And it's just like a lot of things in life. It's like going to the gym, right? Or like running a long distance like marathon. Like you can't just start saying like, I want to be a runner and go out and run 10 miles. You got to start small and what's going to pay off over time is consistency, like doing a little bit every day, as opposed to like trying to go running, 3 miles a day for a week.
Yeah. No, that was definitely a great lesson Robby on consistency, and I made that mistake where in the few early years of multi-dots. I thought like I have to just run, and have to achieve all this growth and success. And yesterday, so I continued, like I put in too much time and efforts, and eventually I burnt out, and it slowed down and all of that. So I agree with you that when it comes to growth, you need to play small, consistent, and simple. Like, so those are the three things that I have started adopting more in my lifestyle now, in both personal and professional, in both areas, to have like a simple, small and consistent strategy instead of complex and fast and something that just give you a result in 7 days. I like, as soon as I see that, I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to pay the price that I have to pay to get that result in 7 days.
Yeah, burnout's real too. There's hardly anyone I talk to that has been doing, anything entrepreneurial for a long time that hasn't experienced it in some form or another. And I think there's like a real guilt that comes with it, because I feel, immensely fortunate, like, to get to do something I enjoy. I have a very flexible schedule. Like, I work from home. Anytime I talk with friends that are working like a, kind of like a 9 to 5, or have a boss they don't like, or, are working on their feet in restaurants, they all kind of think like, oh, they tell me like, man, like you really got it. Like, that's so cool. Like, you can, you can sleep in if you want to, or this, or like all the kind of like perks that come along with having your own business. But like, I think that made me feel guilty. Like, when I was actually burnt out and just couldn't muster up the willpower to do what I felt like I needed to do, it kind of compounded, because I was like, well, how can I be feeling like tired of work when I have such a cushy situation? But it's very mentally draining when you get into those kind of funks, and it's just being like aware that it happens to everyone, and it's like okay to feel that way. And finding, like, I found, like, for a while I was doing a mastermind group with a couple other entrepreneurs. Like, I'd make a point to try and get out and do events like word camps, or events where you're hanging out with other founders, where you can kind of share these stories and have people that understand and can relate to that. And I found all those to be like very therapeutic to get through it, because everyone gets into funks, and it's okay.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. I'm not sure if you have experienced the same, but in my experience, what I have found is that usually we feel burned out, or just feel like tired or exhausted. A lot of time not doing more, but I think it's working on a wrong goal. That's what I'm never tired of working hard or working more, but I do get tired on even like on something that is not meaningful to me. Something that is either not a meaningful work, or something that, even if I work for like 30 minutes in something that is not meaningful at all, or something that I just feel like, oh, somebody else is doing, or somebody else told me to do, because it's a right thing. It's something that is good for my business or success. But I have often experienced that something that is very meaningful to me, I'm not burned out, working on that. So it's not more work; it's a wrong work. That's what my understanding is. What do you think about it?
Absolutely. It's obviously easier to say than to do, but there's so much value in being able to identify the areas of the business that you like and that you feel like you perform well at, and trying to focus on those, and then reversely finding the areas, the things that you just like don't want to do or don't feel good at, and trying to find someone who like that is their thing. Like a couple of like easy or like obvious examples. I was trying to do video for a while, like trying to do video tutorials or create video content. And I found it so like difficult for me and draining, because I had like a little bit of like a perfectionist thing, and like I'm sure like when you do video, you know, you have your script or whatever, and you're like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm Robby McCullough, this is Beaver, and then I'll say like, you know, the wrong word. I'll like flub a word after doing the video for 3 minutes, and I'll be like, oh, okay, gotta start over, and you know, it takes like 4 hours to record this 5-minute video. And then, you know, getting in and editing was like the same thing. I feel like you like watch your video over and over again and try and edit things and get it just right. And like, it wasn't a skill set that like I felt like I thrived. But then, yeah, we found 2 women that work for our team now that are like fantastic video content creators, and that's just they're so good at it. And they've been, like I mentioned, we're doing some like video tutorials and courses. We've been like working on a YouTube channel this year, and they've just been making this amazing content, and it's been fantastic. I think like doing conferences is another one. Like that's where I feel like I kind of thrive. I love being around people. I love socializing. There's a few people on our team that are like a lot more introverted, and you know they'll come out to a conference and spend a few hours there and just be like, okay, I'm done. Like, got to go back to the room. Like, I need to take a nap, or I'm like, you know, like, I need to be away from people. Like, you know, it's like it's like I think they enjoy it to a point, but it's not an area where they thrive. So like that's something I love to do, and I'm usually like the first one up and the last one to bed in those situations.
Yeah, no, you made a really good point about finding out what are those different areas that it actually drains your energy. You know, so I have this tool that I use every year, and I also do it every 3 months. I call it Energy Audit. So what I do is I write down all those different things that I've done in last 3 months. You know, and doing that actually drained my energy. So I didn't feel well about doing that. You know, I felt tired. I didn't feel any like passion about it, you know. And so I will create a list of those things. So what are the things that brings energy, gives me more energy? And what are the things that drains my energy? And I have often noticed that like when I try to eliminate or delegate those tasks or those things that doesn't give me energy, in your case, what you mentioned about recording the video. So the moment I started delegating those tasks to others, you know, automatically my like how happy I was, like I am, you know, working on the other goals, it just changed. So a lot of time, the work-life balance is not about just doing half work and half, you know, off, but it's also about finding what are those meaningful work that gives you joy, and what are those work that we should be eliminating or delegating that doesn't fit into our skill set or doesn't give any joy.
Out of curiosity, what do you have like a top maybe 3 things that you think or like you enjoy the most working on in your business? Yeah.
So I like strategy. So I noticed that like whenever I have to do strategic thinking, planning, so I think I'm more of a like a proactive thinker, you know. But on the other side, my business partner Aslam, he is very good in chaos, like handling the chaos and handling the crisis. So he does really well, and I'm more of a long-term thinker and proactive thinker. So I always like to avoid, like think about like what are the problems that we can see in the future and how we can avoid that. So that's something that I say like one place where I really enjoy working, and I feel like I give my best. And whenever I do that 3-hour, 4-hour, you know, the strategy workshop and work, I feel fulfilled out of it.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's the one. I also like, I think, just in general, I like teaching, you know, so that's something I didn't know that, but I realized that every time I do a workshop or training workshop or something like that with my team, for the rest of the day, I will feel very energetic. And so in the beginning, it felt like effort. I felt like, oh, I need to prepare for the presentation. But so that was another thing too, like, but end of the presentation, when I'm done with the training and workshop, that would bring so much joy and energy throughout the day So that was another thing that came up into this audit, energy audit, and that's what I do now more. So as on my role of CEO of Multicollab, pretty much like every month I do a lot of different workshops with the leadership team and the rest of the other team members.
Interesting. Cool.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So, Robby, do you read books?
I do. I, for a long time, didn't read many books. I read a lot. I felt like I was always reading blogs, or like my day involved a lot of reading, but I rarely sat down and read a book. But this year it was kind of a New Year's resolution. But yeah, I've been reading a lot more this year. So yeah, I do.
Great. All right. So is there any particular book that has significantly changed your life or your business?
Yeah, I think this is probably a common answer from people kind of in our stage of life. But I think the 4-Hour Workweek, Tim Ferriss's book, was a big kind of mindset shifter on what it meant to be like an entrepreneur, like what was kind of possible in terms of like building a business online, particularly around working with teams, working with freelancers and contractors, and just some of the kind of like guerrilla marketing techniques that he'd bring up in that book. I think that really shifted my mindset on like what maybe growing up, I kind of thought of businesses as like, oh, well, you have a business like Safeway or like a big grocery store chain. It's like, it's kind of unimaginable to think of like how you go from just like, I would like to start a business to having like this, like a giant corporation. And then I grew up in Silicon Valley. So I also was reading a lot of hacker news and kind of familiar with the venture funded startup model. And it felt similarly unobtainable because, it's like, oh, if you don't have like the network or connections or an Ivy League, diploma, like you're never going to be able to get in front of venture capitalists. You'll never get money. But like, I think that kind of, that book changed my perspective on like what you could do as a bootstrapped founder.
Yeah, I love that book too. I read, I think, so far 3 times. I did an audio version. I also have a physical copy that I finished. Yeah, that book is great. And especially I like about his emphasis on creating systems, like focus systems around in the business so that you can delegate and automate. So those 2 things were, I think, the biggest takeaway for me. Create systems in your business, automate and delegate so that you can free up your time. And then in the free time, do whatever you want to do. You want to do more work, do more work. If you just want to chill and enjoy, do that. But I like that. Systems, automation, and delegation.
Yep. Yeah, I should read that one again, actually, now that I'm like on a reading kick right now, because it's been many years for me, but I'm sure there's a lot of valuable information in there that I've long forgotten.
So, Robby, have you received but do you have any best or worst advice that you have received from someone else that you want to share?
This would be an interesting one to bring up with you because so early on, I've mentioned a few times now, we had a web design agency, and then we started Beaver Builder as a side project or like an internal project. And there was a time there when we were doing both of them, and we were sort of trying to figure out how to transition or how to manage our time and where to invest resources. And I think at one point when Beaver Builder was starting to develop some traction, we were given the advice from several people that kind of said you should pick one and go all in on it. And I think they wanted us to pick Beaver Builder, which is what we ended up doing. But I remember that being a really difficult decision because we had our agency, we had clients, we had, deal flow that came in, we had new clients coming in. We also had long-term clients that we'd worked with for years and years. We had, a brand and goodwill and experience in this, thriving business. And the idea of putting that on pause or putting that on hold and losing that momentum to focus on this new thing was really a struggle and a really difficult decision. It ended up working out. I guess like part of the advice there was that like when you're doing agency work, you're generally trading time for money, right? And you can scale agencies by bringing on more people, which means more time. But whereas software, there's this kind of like, we used to joke around, like you build it once and like you could sell it over and over again. And like the joke was like, oh, we got to go check the stock room to see if we have more like, Beaver Builder licenses to sell. It's like, oh, yeah, we do. But yeah, I remember that being a really difficult decision, go all in on Beaver Builder. And yeah, I'd be curious, like how do you navigate that? Because you also have an agency and products, right? Like what's your thoughts on that balance?
Yeah, no, you're right. Like that's really difficult decision. So I had after growing Multicollab agency business for roughly like 8 or 9 years, I felt that now I'm ready to take up another challenge and starting up a product business. And I kind of started that, and I realized that like the same struggle. It was like the product business is totally different, plus also agency business requires very different kind of mindset, time and efforts. So I tried it, but then I don't think so it was successful, and I was successful with that. And that one biggest learning for me in that moment was that before I think about focusing on another business, I really need to design this business, like agency business, in a way so that it works well without my involvement. So that was one thing that I've been working on to create our Multicollab agency business, like having the right system, right people, and processes in place, so that it is simple and automated enough to just run on its own. And so I've been working on that. And 2 years ago, we came to that point where now Multicollab agency business is really going well, and we have a really good process, people, and systems in place. So that gave me a confidence and a little bit more time where I can focus on the product business. So at this moment, like that's a strategy that we are following, because I have a business partner, plus also the agency business, I feel like has already been, we have been able to create the right process and structure in place. So I feel very, very comfortable and confident about that. So now I think I only spend maybe 10-20% of my time on the agency business, and agency business is just doing well without me.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah. So yeah, I was kind of like in that decision, like whether I should do one or other. But then I'm right now in the stage where I have the people and the process who can run the agency business. So that's what I was like thinking, that now I can kind of like create this new business. And so in a way, actually, it's kind of like good, because agency business also supports us in a way where we can make some financial decisions or investment in the product side. And a lot of customers, we also have a good customer overlap. So that's another thing, like, the product business that we have, we are also targeting the enterprise and large publishers, and they are the same kind of customer that we also have for the Multicollab. So I kind of see a good overlap. Sometimes some people who are interested, some brands, businesses who are interested in Multicollab, they end up becoming a client for Multicollab, and a lot of Multicollab clients is also a client of Multicollab.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think hearing you say that, I wonder, I think at the time for us, our agency was just the three of us, and we were, doing everything. And then, when it was the early days of Beaver Builder, it was just the three of us, and we were doing everything. And through the process of growing Beaver Builder, we learned how to grow a team and hire and delegate. And I wonder if, like, we were to make that same decision again. I think one of the reasons at the time we had to go all in on one is because there was just the three of us. But if we'd had, the ability and the know-how to build a team, if we could have done that differently and continued the client service business along with the product business, like, I think maybe we were missing some skill set to be able to do that at the time. And I wonder if we could like, yeah, I don't know if we'll ever get back into doing agency work again, but I wonder if we could. Now that I'm talking about it, we'll see.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, and even I'm not sure that if this is the right decision at this moment, but my goal is that as long as the product business doesn't suffer because of the agency business, and agency business doesn't suffer because of the product business, I'm happy to continue both. But if there is a moment where I feel, and also the product business is a new idea, so before I kind of like, I want to see that, once I have the 1,000 customers or 2,000 customers for the product business, where I really see that, like, okay, this can grow as big as or bigger than the agency business, I might think about then making that choice, like, one or other way. But at this moment, it feels like we are able to grow both together.
Cool. Yeah, those are good problems to have, right? The scaling problems, like they always say. Like my dad always used to say, tax problems are a good problem to have because at least you have a job.
All right, Robby. So I'll have a couple more questions, and then we'll slowly move towards the lending.
Sure.
The one question I have is there any particular productivity hack or something that you have learned or doing that helps you to be more productive in your work and life?
A new one that I've been using this year that kind of coincides with the reading kick I've been doing. There's this product called Readwise, and it is, the way I use it is basically like it'll extract all of the highlights from your, like I use a Kindle. And if you highlight something in the Kindle, it will pull that. It also has a Chrome or various browser add-ons, so you can highlight things on websites, blogs, and whatnot. And it takes all of your highlights, and then every day I log in the morning. I'm trying to like keep a routine of this, but it will pick 6 of your highlights and show it to you again. So it's that kind of like repetitive learning. Like it has some kind of algorithm where it like picks and pulls things like both like recently and from a long time. And it will kind of like, if it's something I want to learn and remember, I highlight it, and then Readwise will like periodically surface it again. And I've been really enjoying that. I feel like it's been working really well for me. And then, yeah, that's like, there was a time when I was really interested in like productivity hacking, for lack of a better term, and like I was reading a lot of content and studying a lot of like there was like the get things done system, and like I experimented with doing like time boxing for a while, where you just like split your day up and say like, okay, first 45 minutes is email, and I'm just going to do email, and then the next hour and a half is going to be like blog posts or writing, and I'm just going to write, and then I'm going to do 2 hours of meetings, and like trying to set that schedule and stick to it. And then, yeah, like the whole, like I kind of have like a variation, I think, on the get things done to-do list system, where I use a Trello board, and I have kind of like an ideas list or something, like, if I have an idea of something I'd like to do, it goes in there. And then it kind of like, it cascades down in priority. And at the end, there's like the today list. So, I'll put things in the idea list, or if something comes up that like I have to do today and I don't want to forget, I'll put it in the today list, and kind of like slowly move things off the today list and then move things over from the other lists. That's I think I've kind of cooked up my own system there, but that's worked really well for me. I also just recently heard about this idea of doing like a done list, where instead of having a to-do list, you just like list down the things that you've done. And there's this kind of like, self-psychology element to it, where it feels a lot more rewarding to have a list at the end of the day of like things that you've completed, as opposed to having that like long, never-ending list of things that you haven't completed or that are still to do.
So do you put this done list from the previous day, or you put it like whatever you're planning to do today, you already consider that as a done?
Yeah, I think I've just like, I don't know. I only, to be honest, I've only tried it a couple times. Like it's not something I've made into a routine yet, but I like the idea of it. I guess I've been trying to not get like frustrated with the never-ending to-do list, and so maybe it's just more like, I don't even think I've been physically writing it down, but just trying to take more time to like appreciate and celebrate getting things done, and like focusing more on that than the like what I haven't got done.
Interesting. Yeah, my version of that is I tell myself that, okay, I just need to schedule something today. So for me, it's more like not start list, not end list, but it's more like a schedule list. So like, what are the tasks that I can schedule in my calendar today?
Mm.
So that's kind of my version in my hack, in terms of because then when I feel like something to start, I feel like, oh, then the procrastination come into the picture and motivation come into the picture. Something to finish, then that's like another pressure. It was like, okay, all I have to do is just schedule in the calendar. And when, so that's what I do in the morning or day after, actually, day before. And then when the task comes in, I was like, okay, I just schedule it and I just need to work on it. I don't have to worry about completing it today. All I need to do is just schedule it and start it. And then a lot of time, 90% of the times, I'll end up completing them.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
That reminded me, it's kind of unrelated, but another thing, I'll make this real brief, but I started working from a co-working space this year. So I think we mentioned before we started recording, but I've been moving to a new city, and I found a co-working space up here that's just a block away from where I'm staying. And I've always heard, like many people have told me this throughout the years, that having a dedicated workspace can be like such a great thing, whether that's like in your house or outside. And I've always had like my desk with my computer, but that's been like a work and play space for me. Like I like to read blogs, and I like to just like, spend time online on Reddit and do video games and this and that. Like having the space at the co-working space that's just like I go in there and I do work, and there's really not a lot of like variation on that. That's been really helpful for me. It's been, I was genuinely surprised at how much more I was getting done out of that space than I was when I was just at home and had all the distractions of, home life around.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like to do the same. I have a WeWork office here and also have a home office, but I try to switch it out to like work a few hours here, a few days here, and few days from the WeWork office that we have. Also, on that note, I learned from this book. It's called Hyper Focus, and the author mentioned one cool hack, which is, he said that if you really want to be productive, like something that's like mindless work, like maybe something that you already know that you are really good at doing it, and you don't need any extra motivation or something, he suggested that work from the familiar place. So wherever your like everyday workplace is, just work from there. But if there is something that's a little bit more critical, challenging, creative, or something that is you need, like something that it's not still part of your habit, or comfort zone, those are the moments he suggests try to go to new environment, because this new environment triggers the creativity, and that change will give you like new energy. But the simple day-to-day task like sending an email and stuff like that, if you do it from the familiar place, then you will be more productive and in flow state.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that working out. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so that was something that I'm trying now. Like whenever I have to do something that's a little bit out of my comfort zone, I'll try to go to a new place, and and it is actually effective. Yeah, it works.
Cool. I like that.
Yeah. Great. Robby, so we'll slowly bring it to home. One last question I have for you is, what are you guys working right now with Beaver Builder, and especially, what can we expect in the future coming out from Beaver Builder in your business?
I'm really excited about this. Are working on a new version update that's bringing CSS Grid and Flexbox to Beaver Builder. So I assume some of your listeners are probably, web developers. For those that aren't, CSS is like the design language of websites. CSS kind of evolves as web browsers evolve. So, if you're using Chrome or Firefox or this and that, like they'll introduce new features that allow you to use new code to design websites. And CSS Grid and Flexbox for a long time were kind of like experimental features that are now very widely supported, if not like I think universally supported. So again, it's like without getting too like deep into the technical weeds, like they allow for a lot more complex layouts. Obviously CSS Grid, like around grids, and Flexbox is like more around like spacing elements on a page. So if you want to have a image take up like a certain amount of pixels and have the space next to it be responsive or be more dynamic, it opens up like just a whole lot more possibilities for creating designs. So we're coming out with it's called the box module. It's a module, it's an element that you can pull onto your page that will contain other elements, but it's going to leverage the new CSS features to open up some like really cool new design potential. And then another thing we're really excited about is that I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities. It's a little bit advanced as far as like getting it set up and using it, but I'm really excited and hopeful that people who are advanced developers are going to use this to create things that then they can share with the community. We have another product called Assistant Pro that lets you share templates and page designs. So I think there's going to be like a really good opportunity for people to like create cool things with the box module and then put them up on Assistant Pro for other people to use. I think so. It's like mid-August right now, and we're going to have that feature in a public beta, like just in like the next couple of days. Okay. And then we'll probably be launching it in like the fall, hopefully like late fall. Is usually this. We usually do a couple months of beta just to make sure like we get all the bugs ironed out, and it allows us to get feedback from users and kind of iterate on what we've created. But it's like a big new feature in Beaver Builder that a lot of people have asked for a long time, and I think it's really going to like allow people to create like really visually like an aesthetically pleasing new designs. So really excited about Box.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds exciting, and really looking forward to it. We'll also mention some of the product and the resource that you mentioned in this episode today in our show notes. But cool. Around the fall, when you launch them, feel free to share that with me, and we will mention that again on the show notes as a comment. So if anyone wants to refer that, we can give those resources to them.
Great. Thank you.
Of course. So, Robby, how people can find you online? Do you like to mention that?
Oh, yeah, thanks. It's funny. So Twitter is like such a weird place these days. And, now it's called X. And
now
then,
X, yeah.
Yeah. And then like Threads looked like it was going to become the new Twitter for like 3 days. And everyone, signed in and like created a thread, and then they're like, nah, okay, I don't know if I'm going to do this anymore. And then there's the kind of like decentralized social media. So I'm still on X/Twitter. My handle is my name. It's just at Robby McCullough. Our website is wpbeaverbuilder.com. We have a Facebook group of people that use Beaver Builder. That's like a really nice active community. It's called the Beaver Builders Group. I'd say those 3 are probably the best ways to like learn about what we're doing at Beaver Builder, or to get in touch with me directly.
Awesome. Thanks, Robby. Thanks for your time today. You've been very generous with your time and sharing your wisdom and your experience as an entrepreneur. I really appreciate that.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. It was great to talk with you.
Awesome.
Thank you for watching. Now, if you are interested and would like to try this out for yourself, we offer a 30-day free trial of our Pro plan where you can test all the Multicollab features. So for this, all you have to do is click on the link in the description below, and this will bring you to this page. And under the Pro heading, simply click on this button here. Now simply enter a few details, and that's it. You're ready to enjoy the Pro version of Multicollab for free for 30 days. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.